Whoa.
Okay, I don't need to see myself. Good.
I'll keep it here.
There we go. I know what I look like. I'm fine.
I have a double view, so it's like amazing.
Let's start with this.
Okay, well, this is just a coffee chat for anyone who wants to ask Courtney about her incredible and long career in resettlement, or what's going on at the office, or just, you know, anything you're curious to learn more about. It's for the community, which includes our staff.
It does. It does. It does.
Yeah. So,
Hi, I'm Courtney.
I can start with a question.
I'll do a brief introduction of myself. I am Courtney Madsen. I'm the Regional Director for the Northeast for CWS and most of the Office Director for Jersey City. Been with CWS since November 2016 and with the Jersey City office since May 2017. But I've been working in resettlement since 2007. So, yeah, I started as a child. So.
Well, how did you get into resettlement in the first place?
I started as an intern filing applications for called affidavit of relationship applications for P3 resettlement in a resettlement office in Seattle, Washington. I was finishing up my master's degree at the University of Washington and did the internship as well. And then they couldn't get rid of me, and so they hired me. That's it. Yeah, and the first case that I worked with arrived on the 4th of July. And the family was a part of a group called the 1972 Burundians, because 1972 was the year they fled Burundi and had been in camps ever since. And their camp situation was so tightly controlled, they weren't allowed to go more than 4 kilometers outside of the camp. So like in mostly in Tanzania, some in Rwanda, but we mostly worked with the ones from Tanzania. And it was at the same time we were also working with a lot of it was when we were starting to get refugees from the Iraq War to come, and like having those two groups kind of interact with each other and realize there were other refugees in the world, like was kind of like they had to kind of sit with that a little bit. They were a little shocked to find that out. So yeah.
Crazy amount of time to be in a refugee camp. I feel like that's a little bit similar to when the Afghans and Ukrainians will meet each other.
Right.
Experiences.
Right.
What was the most challenging case you ever had, and
why? My gosh. I would say challenging for me as a caseworker. I moved into being a medical caseworker. And one of the first cases I took, the family was Burmese, and they had a toddler who had severe brain damage, probably from a seizure that he had as an infant. And what was very hard about that was they really went through the entire resettlement process thinking that coming to America would fix their baby. And I was in the room with them when the doctor told them that the brain scan they had done for their child showed that it was like half of his brain was dead essentially, and there was nothing we could do to fix it. And then I had to drive the family home after that. And I was just like, this is a whole other level of feelings right here. So that was a hard case, not because like just kind of realizing like what people bring with them when they're coming to the US. It's a limit to it. Yeah, after that, they're all easy. No, I mean, you know, I had clients, I've had clients, die, and I've had some clients commit suicide, and I've had clients, you know, disclose very terrible things that happened to them, and after a while, it's, you either get used to it or you have to like do something else.
I guess a good segue into my next question, which is this is kind of like a gimmicky question, but how do you motivate yourself to keep doing this work, which is so challenging?
You know, at the same time, like I've been doing it long enough that like that case that I talked about with the little boy, like I saw the family get that child into school, saw that family get that child treatment. I saw that family I helped that family have another very healthy baby, and get jobs and like move into a new apartment. So that's what keeps me going, is seeing that like this it sounds trite, but it's true. Like this really does change people's lives, and it just takes a while to see the full scope of the change. And yeah, I think that's what keeps.
I guess given that situation, how do you kind of cope with like difficult situations that you hear about and like wanting to have empathy, but also not wanting to carry the weight of those?
Yeah. Or all the things. I mean, it was very hard at first. I had a lot of I cried a lot at home. But then I also just had to, you know, figure out what are my boundaries so that I could continue doing the work. And I had to also really like settle down and be like, okay, what am I here for? Am I here to just do this work for a few years and then move on to I had people ask me this, which I thought was super rude, but I had people ask me, when are you going to do a real job? I was like, this is my real job. Like, and so I kind of had to sit with that and say, am I doing this just for a couple of years, make my impact, and then go on and do a job that makes real money? Or am I in this for the long haul? Am I in this to make a lasting impact and more people's lives? And I kind of settled on that second one, that I really wanted to gain experience and to get myself a seat at the table where I could make like meaningful decisions about the clients that I saw serving. And so when I came to that decision, then I said, okay, well, in that case, like when I'm done with work for the day, I'm done with work for the day. I try not to read news about immigration at night. I've even gotten to the point where I'm like, I don't watch drama on TV. I don't watch anything definitely don't watch anything about torture or crime or any of that, because I just have to say, like, if this is going to be my life, my brain has to be able to handle trauma and tragedy in real life and then move on and work through it. And so I had to figure out my own strategies and ways that worked for me. And I don't think I have a magic bullet or like oh, definitely do this. This is what all of us do. Everyone has a little bit a different set of coping mechanisms. I've also been very fortunate that I've had a lot of people that I've met in profession that sometimes call up and be like, is it just me or is this crazy? And we will be like, it's crazy almost all the time. So I think that's another way that I think, especially now, where I don't have peers in my office, I've had to reach out and make more intentional connections. So I don't feel like that's a great answer, but that's how I got to
Good answer. Were there any points at which you considered switching fields, or once you made that decision, you were pretty sure you were in it for the long haul?
Every week at Monday at like 5, I'm like, I could really use a job at Lululemon right now. No, I've thought about switching careers a lot, but it was kind of thinking more, whenever I thought about it, I've had to go back and say, what is my real long-term goal in my life? And is that, have I done it yet? And then, yeah, refocus. And then if I'm thinking about it too much, then I'm like, okay, then I need to take some vacation days and like kind of disconnect and take care of myself.
Well, kind of shifting gears question, but if anyone has more specific questions.
So what different positions have you held working in refugee resettlement, and which one do you think that's?
Thank you. So I started as an intern, then as an RFP case manager, and then was a ICM case manager under PC. And then was kind of a grant writer for the local office. And then I got a job in another agency's headquarters. I worked at the International Rescue Committee. I should say that. And then I got a job in IRC headquarters as the program officer for communities. And then I moved to CWS headquarters to be the associate director for integration programs. And then that position did not exist after Trump became president. And so then I became the office director here. And then last May, I moved to this current role of regional director and office director. And I've liked them all. Resettlement's the hardest because all of our arrivals were at midnight because we were on the West Coast. And like we all had a caseload. I mean, we resettled 600 people a year, and we didn't have a housing coordinator. Well, we did at the end, but like we had to do, we had to do a lot more ourselves as caseworkers, and not have we didn't have specialized positions. It just wasn't the way the office was managed. So I've been trying to set things up a little different. So that was the hardest, like having the like going to the airport 3 nights a week was a little rough. But then I just told you this terrible story about being a medical case manager as well. So no, I've liked all of the jobs. I really like this job that I'm in right now. Really do.
Well, in this current job, what are some things you're excited about for both the Jersey City office and the Northeast region in the next period of time? Or what are some things that have happened in the past year that you're really excited about since you've been on this role?
Wow. I mean, the growth is really fun because we spent a lot of time not growing and being very afraid that, I mean, 100 offices closed under the previous administration. And that was very uncomfortable. And there was a lot of pretty open hostility towards resettlement agencies in general in the US. And now it's a little bit less towards the resettlement agencies. So that's nice. Yeah, the growth has been great because now we can really have holistic services here in Jersey City. We can do the things that clients need. You know, I feel like our clients are really well supported right now, and it's just going to keep getting better. That's great. In terms of the region, we are looking at potentially new sites in the next 12 months opening. And that's really exciting. Yeah.
Exciting.
All exciting.
Awesome. Yeah. So given kind of the fluctuating political climate, how do you move forward when there's just like the potential really instabilities, and like how do you prepare for like, or
well, to be really on brand, that's why days like Hudson, like this, like Hudson Gives are really important. Is to, make sure that we have, not just the financial support, but just the overall community support for the work we're doing. Like we're not doing this in a vacuum. We're doing this within a extremely diverse and welcoming community, and just making sure that they know we're doing this here. That's really important. So that's one thing that I think is a key strategy, is to make sure everyone knows we're here, and that we're serving people within the community, and not just they're coming here for reasons. Almost all of our clients are coming here because they really want to be here. And I think that's another key thing that we've looked at here in Jersey City specifically. I think, the other thing in terms of CWS's overall strategy, they've done a lot more work on, when I started with resettlement, we kind of hid ourselves, and we didn't talk to the press, and we didn't make ourselves known very well. And now the attitude is much more like, no, we need to talk to the press. We need to engage with the media. We need people to know what we're doing. We need decision makers to know what we're doing. Lawmakers, even more importantly, lawmakers to know what we're doing, and to have buy-in into our work. And so that's, I think, the bigger strategy that CWS has gone through in the past 5 years that I've seen. So I can tell you guys, I was even emailing a reporter today just to make sure that they knew like CWS's stance on certain issues. So, and that's another thing that I think is important for us as an agency. Yeah.
But today is the day. So, how do you foresee that affecting our work?
Because our main populations were exempt from Title 42 in the first place, I don't foresee it changing our work very much. If anything, because of the new way they've set up the parole programs for Cuban, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans, we could see a slight reduction in new clients coming here, but I don't think it will be that significant. What's the most concerning is that there are steps being taken by the administration to put barriers in front of people to access the asylum process, and that's wrong. It violates U.S. law, violates international law. It's terrible. So in terms of our work, like our clients, once they get here, they'll get our services. That'll be fine. But we just have to continue to stand up against, unethical and illegal immigration policies. So, yeah.
Just for when you were just describing unethical rather desk, you want to say something, lend our voice to sense that's unethical.
Yeah.
What do you think is the best way for us to see the real support?
What I do is I double check CWS's action alerts. There's usually really easy systems to notify your elected officials about your opinion. I think in New Jersey, we're very lucky because we have very pro everything we believe in type politicians who do stand up. I think that's in a way a little bit harder for us though, because we're like, well, you guys already agree with us. Yep. So I think then the important thing would be sharing with your friends and family who maybe live in districts that have different opinions, letting them know about how these policies impact real people and families and separate families, and that they should let their lawmakers know that this is wrong, and we need meaningful immigration reform that allows people to access asylum. Yeah, that's what I've done. I have a lot of family that don't talk to me anymore because of it, but but that's what I've done. And I think the other thing I would say is that you don't have to be a citizen or, you know, a US citizen to let a lawmaker know your opinion. They serve all constituents within America. So that's the other thing. I think we're very fortunate that CWS has a very active and engaged advocacy team. And it's very accessible to CWS staff. And so if you have other questions and want to know what can I do more on this issue, you would get an answer back or like in 5 minutes.
You could even get on the advocacy listserv if you want to.
Yeah.
You don't have to be an advocacy liaison to be on it, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
We talk a lot about asylum laws and practices, and currently in this office, we don't have a program that supports working here as asylum.
As correct.
What do you see in the future? CWS should be for divorce.
So the problem with asylum seeker services is nobody funds services for that. We previously had generous support through a private donor for a program for 3 years. That funding ended. There isn't money, or there isn't public money for it, and like that's the biggest programs in general. There isn't public money for case management. There's definitely not for legal services. So I think in the next year we're going to have to look at more creative ways to stand up something to serve that community. But I don't have an answer of what that would be. It would not be it. I can't, I want to say something different, but I just realistically, I don't think it'll be as big as what we've had before. Just because the funding isn't there for it right now. Yeah, I don't have a answer that I like to give to them. Other than it's something that everyone's talking about, but nobody's stepping forward with the financial support.
Kind of on that. And maybe what is the
So that would in order to get Venezuelans and Nicaraguans access to federal benefits, Congress would have to change a law. And of course, CWS is trying to advocate for increased access to these benefits for humanitarian. CWS has also been advocating for an Adjustment Act as well, which has also been unsuccessful. So I always say I never want to predict what Congress is going to do. But I don't, there's not enough political will, I think, to open up that. I'm not optimistic that Congress will change laws to allow those populations, those access. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, they're trying to not extend the debt ceiling and defund social security. So.
Yeah, that was like everything happening. So I have a question. So like with the presidential race next year, everything the news about a recession, a bunch of laws changing, everything even happening in Florida with DeSantis, the immigrants, how they're supposed to be coming up here now. What do you see like refugee resettlement if we don't have? I don't want to say not a democratic president, but like president that had laws like Trump
Yeah.
next in, or
Um,
what do you see?
What I can share with you with confidence is what happened during the previous administration, and that is that this office grew. This office has grown, has either remained steady or has grown since I came here. There was a year where it was a bit more uncertain, but because we really went out and did outreach to our community partners, kind of said, did you know that all these other populations are eligible for our services? Then, you know, we got more clients who were already here into our services. We gained more relationships. We built up, you know, we went from having like 7 grants to now 35. You know, there's been a lot of work done there's been as much work done as I can think of to get this office to a position where if a not pro-immigrant, anti-immigrant administration comes in, this office is to be. A lot of our contracts are based on a formula of how many clients were served previous year and are eligible, and they're not necessarily based on new entrants. And so, or they're multi-year contracts. And so that's something else to keep in mind.
And let's add on to that. I know you said like CWS has like advocacy teams. What is something that we can do here to like lobby against certain laws? If there's something, or like as this Jersey City office, you have connections to go do something, you have talks or something like that. Meet virtually.
Why don't you talk about your experience, Nora?
Well, CWS does have a huge national advocacy team. They're not huge, but they have 7 full-time staff in DC, and then a lot of local offices, though not ours, have advocacy liaisons. And I just went to a conference in DC called Refugee Council USA. So it's a bunch of different resettlement agencies and organizations that support humanitarian migrants and different migrants. We met with our legislators I met with New York and New Jersey, both New Jersey senators, and Congressman Menendez, who's the congressman for our district.
Yeah, I got to meet with them too at the conference. It was a virtual one.
Amazing. So I think any opportunities like that where you just talk to the staffers in their office about what your priorities are, and not just say what the laws are, but also say, here in the office, the experience, this is what our clients are seeing. Not a single one of our Cuban entrants has gotten an EAD in the past year. Could you please ask USCIS what's going on with that and things like that? So taking on those advocacy opportunities, and then I think I can do a better job of sharing the CWS headquarters advocacy asks. Like basically daily, they'll say, tweet your legislators or sign this petition or text your friends and family about this law. So we can try and get that to the office more since there's interest in that.
Yeah, and I also think, I know when I've gone in to meet with lawmakers, they're like, oh, okay, it's great, this is your job, but I want to talk to, they really want to talk to constituents who are just interested in the issue and are not like they're trying to out there because it's their job to be there, right? So I think the other thing too is just sharing that stuff out to, you know, anyone who you think it would be a supporter of this work and just needs to know, like, it's really important you say something that you think this is important. It can't just be coming from us. It needs to come from.
And it needs to come from the clients too.
Yeah.
So the conference was 3 days, and I was there just for the second 2 days. But the first day was the people experience post placement, and it was a training on how to turn your own experience into podcasts. And then the second 2 days were the meetings with legislators, and then all the groups who had a person who experienced this, telling their own story and how going through a resettlement system can help them, and then turning that into something that he asks. So I think, you know, if there's clients that you guys work with who are really interested in having a larger voice, we now have relationships with all of the offices, like Booker and Menendez, because his senator's son is our congressman. So we can lift up some of those stories, and they've actively asked us to tell them if there's issues that we come across and things like that. Like Courtney said, we're in such a lucky position that New Jersey's so supportive. I mean, Senator Menendez just released the Menendez plan, which is a huge 16-point plan about basically rethinking the
Booker deferred like the agricultural thing and the farm bill for 2023. So like their Congress is asking to cut the budget for SNAP. So like my part, since I'm like I was working hand in hand with our clients, so I'm telling them like how that would affect our clients.
Right.
Like, that cut would be horrible.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
okay.
Little
Just
stuff
be a
like
part of
that.
those stuff.
Yeah, and I think finding clients who want to be advocating for themselves is also really important. Any more questions for Courtney, or maybe to not take too much of your time? Any closing thoughts about just things you're proud of about the office or about your career?
Well, first, any other questions?
Just wanted to ask, you grew up in Idaho,
Grew up in Montana.
Montana, sorry.
Yes,
So,
it is.
Sure.
When, you talked about Burundi earlier, the foreign American seem to know a lot about, you know, you're sort of grounded in an orientation towards the world, like languages, cultures. Did you grow up like that, or is it something that you kind of accumulated over time?
No, we never traveled outside the United States when I was a kid. We never didn't have the resources to do like much of that kind of international exploring and stuff until I was an adult, really. So it was probably because of that I got really interested in in not America. Yeah, I mean, I went to Catholic school. All of my friends were white Catholic, or kids who have gotten kicked out of public school. So I grew up in the opposite of a diverse community. So I don't know why I'm not interested in this. Maybe it's because my parents had the nightly news on every night, and like we would talk about things that were happening in the world, and they really instilled a lot of the importance of having empathy and compassion for people who needed help. I don't want to go into it too much, but I think what made me turn really hard towards the refugee issue was just some personal experiences I had where I realized that if you grow up in the United States, you grew up in a very safe place, that your home is always going to be intact, and you're not going to be forcefully displaced here by a war, and that's a privilege. And I just got to a point where I felt like I had a debt to repay to this. And that's what got me started. That's not what kept me in this job. That's just what got me started. So yeah.
It's so inspiring to hear you talk about your career, especially for the
Well, I also feel like I'm just getting started because I'm so young. But I think the other I think there was a question asked about things that I'm excited about, and I just feel you know, right now we are in an upswing in terms of the public attitude towards working with people who have been forcibly displaced, and this is really the time to I think push forward a narrative of how much we all benefit from welcoming people to our communities, how much strength and resilience people bring, and that this program is just an overwhelming net benefit to all of us, all of the things that we do, and then also those of us who have the creative energy, also thinking about like more ways to leverage that strength and resilience, and to help people become, you know, like become or get back to their full potential. And it's not just one thing. It's not just mental health. It's not just housing. It's not just food security. I feel like so much more that we could think of doing as an office and as an agency. Yeah, just need the ideas out there. Let's try.
Thank you.
Right for the scale national and what each had younger
I wish I would have had it.
something that you heard last
I really had to learn a lot of patience, and I really had to learn a lot of I'm sure you guys are watching this right now, very careful communication strategies. I really like I've gotten in trouble before, and I don't want to learned a lot from that, and really wish I would have learned a little bit more like think before you speak. I mean, I do think before you speak, but like take even more time to think before you speak is kind of a skill that I wish I would have developed a little bit younger, rather than being really like, I know everything and pushy and such. In terms of like others like a harder skill development, I mean, just learning how to network is really important in the work that we do, because like I said, we don't do this in a vacuum. We do this, we have to do this in partnership with SNAP, with doctors' offices, with landlords, and learning how to like I said, that communication, but also just learning how to like meet new people and have them buy in at least a little bit into the work that we're doing. That's another skill that I wish I would have focused on a bit more younger, I guess.
If there were one program you would add to the office, you're just talking about
Survivors of
creativity.
torture. I want a survivors of torture program, and that could be my retirement thing. I want a survivors of torture program in New Jersey. It's so important. And there isn't one in this state. There's this expectation that people are going to go to New York City or to Philadelphia to get services. It really bothers me, because I think there's a large population, and when we get that program, then I'll retire. So it's kind of a mixed bag there, right? Like, if we get the program, we're gonna have we'll have this amazing service.
I signed up for the webinars. I just go in today. It's like training on like triage and something else like voice immigrants and torture victims.
Yep.
In this area. I think it's just topics to learn about. I would want to work in it too. So.
Yeah. That's the
Y'all, I know I
That's
knew you would
like-
say that.
yeah, might be a bit of a personal thing, obviously, coming from my background working with medical clients. I worked with a number of survivors of torture, and that was the one thing where I was like, that's what I
And that
think
would be a way
that
to serve asylum seekers.
would be a way to serve asylum seekers, a particularly vulnerable crew of asylum seekers.
I mean, I have so many questions. I don't know how much of your time it's.
I mean, I'm here until 3, so you might as well just keep me going.
She may gonna end up until 5.
Yeah, I might be like, I'm out of time.
As now that you manage so many people and so many different offices, how do you manage your time so well? Because you always seem to be able to manage your time incredibly well, which is just very admirable.
I use a calendar a lot. But I also like block out things like lunch, and I block out time to like work on the things I need to work on. Like I block out just like focus time, or I block out just time to like, okay, do your work or read your email or something like that. So that's also helpful. I'm working so hard on delegating. It's like I'm working so hard on it. I'm getting there, but that's better. It's not doing everything, telling people this is probably something you should do enough. So.
Do you know how many staff are in the Northeast region now?
I don't have an exact number. This office is roughly 100. Master's about 50. What were we at? So it's between 180 and 200.
Do you miss case management at all?
I don't. I mean, I did it for 8 years. I kind of 7 or 8 years. Like I'm fine. So.
And you said that that's something how we spent your part back then, and now we are working 5 days, like very complicated compared to the other time.
Yeah. I don't miss driving people all day long. I am sorry. No.
Pretty crazy that you did it for 7 or 8 years. I feel like most people don't do case management for that long.
No. I've known a lot of case managers who have done it for like that's what they did. That was their way to serve their community, or that was their like that was what they wanted to do, and their community really respected them as a trusted member and trusted messenger, and so they gained other things from that position. So I was nowhere near the longest case manager in that office. Okay. Yes. Right. Yeah. There isn't right now. That there's been some. I mean, that's been requested and that's been talked about. It's easier, I think, right now for the way the funding is to bring people from the international offices here to kind of get training and do that's, I mean, obviously we've had people visiting our office than it is to kind of go the other way. Not to say it never happens, but I haven't seen it happen recently, and I don't know I like the opportunities of it, that would be limited, so keep your eyes out. If it ever comes up, I'll make sure everyone sees it.
In CWS offices abroad.
I feel at this point, I know I'm too far gone here in the US that, that's a whole other skill set for moving into, overseas work. And there's a lot more moves to hire people who are from those countries now, which is appropriate. And so, yeah, I
can do that for us.
uh,
Well, I'm from Puerto Rico, I'll leave. I'm gone.
I mean, not maybe being like, country representative, but maybe like, leading, like, through maybe, let's say, Asia's, like, offices or like in Africa offices or something like that. Would you be interested in that kind of?
I
Oversee the, like, country directors from like, different countries.
I mean, I have, I feel like, I don't know. I like this job a lot. I kind of want to do it for a few years before thinking about the next thing. Yeah. So couldn't say for myself that, yeah, on camera. Being recorded.
Have you visited any other CWS offices abroad or?
I haven't visited CWS offices abroad. I will admit, I have gone to conferences outside of the United States, and met with people doing international development work, outside of the United States. Julie went to a conference that was focused on women's protection and empowerment, and learned about what kinds of programs are done in, both refugee camps and with, other, call them, returning communities. So when people go back home. No, I have a master's degree in international studies. Yeah, right. Right. It's a theme.
Yeah.
That's a fun question.
Yeah.
What's like your easiest story interacting with
Oh, God.
Is that an okay question?
No, it's an okay question. It's an okay question. It's just one that I'm gonna pass on. All volunteers are lovely, and they are. Let me think.
It's a bit difficult.
I mean, I've met volunteers who, like, I remember one volunteer who helped a family move to a different state, helped them find housing, helped them get their bank account set up, and then just went back home and spent a couple of weeks helping them move from, I think, Washington State to Iowa, and make sure that they were settled in. So, and that was just one person. I met, I remember one volunteer who, like, this was kind of she would mentor families. It was like kind of a friend of the family program that we had. And this was like what she did with her daughter to teach her daughter about like being a good citizen. And so they would mentor the families together, and they like went from one family for 6 months to another family, and were very consistent with their support for that. And I thought that was really cool. Yeah, and then I know a lot of people who are like me who started as interns or volunteers, and then were like, oh, this is the thing I have to do forever. And of course, those are the best.
the love story in our office between one of our colleagues and a former volunteer.
Yeah.
It's the story.
Right. Yeah.
Help and be helpful.
And be helpful
Yeah.
and be inspired by the work. Yeah. All the things.
And my last.
Okay.
When do we have next? Next topic.
Oh, when do we do this again?
Yeah.
Nora's the one who told me I was doing this.
I
Actually,
know.
no, this is a No, this is the really even funnier thing. I was visiting my family over the weekend and my mom was like, "Oh, I see you're doing a coffee chat on Thursday." And I said, "I am." And she's like, "Yeah, it's on Instagram." I just forgot. I had forgotten about it.
Not the most important thing going on in the office.
And I was like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah, this is. I was inspired by the Lancaster office who did a coffee chat during their Hudson Gibbs event last year. So kind of goes to them. Yeah. Yeah. It is an amazing idea because there's just like so much to learn. So.
I mean, it's good, like, it's just to have, like, maybe 1 hour, like, like,
Can't volunteer
Oh,
you to do
like-
more.
No.
Next Hudson Gibbs.
Next, so I feel like what I'm hearing is it needs to be more than once a year. And I think, I mean, I would say that maybe we need to do it once a quarter, just because there are so many new people. Do some kind of, I'm fine with an ask me anything, ask me almost anything. Well, you can ask me anything. I just might not answer it. Yeah. Oh, that's a beer conversation.
Afterwards. After happy hour. Yes, in a coffee and chat. Happy hour and chat.
We could definitely do once a quarter town halls for new staff.
Yeah, or all staff. It's totally fine. I really do mean it. Like, people, I am always busy, but I'm never too busy to talk to people on the team trying to do the work. Like, I recognize that I am the most senior caseworker here in a lot of ways. And I quite literally work with hundreds of people as their case manager. And so there are very few things I haven't encountered, or at least heard of someone else encountering as well. So, unfortunately, a lot of my answers to case situations are like, "Yeah, it's tough." Good luck with that.
Yeah.
It's solidarity and someone's been here before.
Yeah.
So. Weird events.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Helpful.